Hey, good morning. Look where I am. So you guys can be here too. On this trail, and there's this fog. I wonder if you can see the fog. It's like going across the path. Sun's right there. I think I'll turn it around. I just woke up and did my meditation out here this morning. But yeah, I'll let you look at the view for a second, but I gotta keep it close so you can hear me. I've been learning all this stuff. And so this morning, I wasn't planning on making a video out here. It's so beautiful though. I always want to share when I'm in beauty, you know? I want other people's hearts and lives and minds to be fed by this beauty. Because I know how much, I don't understand how I can wake up every day and still need this to ground me, you know? Because oh, look at this. It's just so big. They were smelling so good on the way up here. I just asked Divine Love. I'm like, speak through me. Okay, because so what was coming up for so long? So let's say my meditation's 1 hour, for 40 minutes. I just had to deal with my fears and my old beliefs coming up. And I just looked at them and just sat there. And, you keep feeling like they're going to overcome you again, and they don't. You can just sit there and observe them because you're the observer. You don't have to identify with those thoughts. But I can say, it's in my childhood, if I learned, oh, look, here's Leia. I love the dog. She's calming too, but even she, I couldn't depend on anything outside of me to calm this stuff down. It had to be just being present and observing my thoughts. And honestly, other people would come up and then they would provoke all these old thoughts. I was like, where are these coming from? And so who knows what's going on? If it's just things shifting in me, or if it's, there's, because we're 80% water, if there's a full moon, if there's planetary things shifting, or why this is coming up. I don't bother really asking why right now. I just am I can still have this superpower, right? I call it in my class that I teach presence power. I teach about the power of now. And so just be in presence. Are you seeing the fog and stuff? Look. I saw some baby bunnies on the trail. That really helped a lot. But let me just start naming what it is so that you guys can be courageous and, be like David, the giant killer, because he truly was a giant, but Goliath. But it doesn't matter how big the giant looks in your life. Don't be intimidated by any giants that are in your life, right? We're called to have courage. And St. John, the mystic saint, the mystic disciple of Christ, the one that was like Jesus's brother. He was a cousin, actually, but like his brother, that took Mary on as his mother, and which is also in a way given to us, He wrote at the end of John 16, he was writing the words of Christ, and Christ said, "Be of good cheer." And in Greek, I looked it up the other day, it says take courage. It means take courage from Christ. He says, because I have overcome the world. That's the world out here. And the world of your own fears, the world of your own addictions, the world of anything that ought to die in us. And so that what ought to live can live. So I was asking him, can I always take courage? And he's like, yeah, always. So you can always take courage. Christ is willing to give it to you no matter who you are, what religion you are, wherever you are. just ask and a mysterious way will show up. And like, you know, I had to wait 40 minutes out of my hour or more for that courage to show up a little bit more, you know, and just sit with the little bunnies and watch them and watch how they're on this mountain and they're trusting in divine love to watch over them, to care for them, and they look so vulnerable, you know. It was something from my past, you know, stuff from being when I was a child, like this. So how I learned from Dr. Joe, and I'm not recommending him for everybody, but I'll just still say where I learned stuff is, let me tie my shoe. Here, you can look at this flower, or look at this guy for a second. Stay, Leah. That's what we get to tell our own thoughts. Just stay. We get to settle them down. So what he was talking about is the neurochemicals. Is like, so I learned in so many ways, you know, Christ says every day, die to yourself. You know, you must die every day, take up your cross every day. And that does not mean be a masochist. See, I learned that all wrong in Sunday school, but whatever, I learned some good stuff in there too. So it's kind of like, let the wheat grow with the tares, and then as I produce fruit, you'll see what's good for you to eat and what just needs to be left alone. Anyway, so imagine for a second, let's get right into that so it's not super religious here, is, you know, because we can have triggers from that too, obviously. So imagine if you have cups, okay? I'm going to do it like this. You have neuroreceptors, all right? And the idea that came to me yesterday when I was coaching with a client is for my class, you know, is this idea of like a baby born with fetal alcohol syndrome. So if the mom is addicted to alcohol and she's pregnant and she's doing that, and the baby comes out and the baby is addicted to alcohol as well, then the doctors and nurses and everyone taking care of the baby, and the parents too, you know, whatever, will help that baby get off those chemicals and nourish them with good food, and eventually, you know, their brains will heal, hopefully. I don't know all of the ramifications of all of that because I haven't studied that like specifically. It was just given to my intuition as an example of, we have, hey again, morning again. Oh, that guy was so sweet. That really helped. That was at the end of my trail. I was shown that I couldn't depend on anyone else to lift me out of this state, you know, of all these old fears coming up. Like, yay, look, working out. Just walking, you know. I'm not even working out yet. Oh, I don't have any makeup on. Oh, okay, whatever. All right. This fog is making me a little chilly. Okay. The sun will come out. That's what we're talking about. So you have these neuroreceptors, okay? Let's stay focused. And what happens is they're used to certain chemicals. So let's say, I'll let you guys see nature again. Let's say I was used to feeling like I was doing everything wrong, or that I wasn't good enough. Because these are the feelings my dad had. I mean, he expressed to us he was never good enough for his father, you know, and he always was trying to impress his dad, you know. Like I don't know, I don't want to play the whole victim card, you know, just whatever. And I know that my grandfather was oppressed in his country as a child. So, you know, there's generational things that go on, and anyway, it doesn't matter because we can have courage and we can get out of this, you know. That's what I believe, and I'm showing it in my life, and I'm teaching others while I'm doing it, you know. So you have neuroreceptors, let's say, that say, you know, here's the chemical reaction that happens in your brain when you feel like, oh, I'm rejected again, oh, I'm always going to be wanting love but not having it. Oh, that heartbroken energy. Like if you want to go back to any of my videos, you see so many of them are me trying to like claw my way out, like crawl out of heartbreak energy over and over and over again. And so now I feel so much more free, even though all this stuff came up this morning for me. It doesn't matter, because now I know that like you can have these neuroreceptors and have these chemicals in your brain that say, so imagine there's a bunch of cups, like red cups. They're neuroreceptors, and they feel like relaxed and chill when you give them these horrible chemicals, these chemicals of feeling heartbroken and sadness and rejection and not good enough and lack. And so because we're in a world of duality, we came from the oneness. Let's say we came from divine love, from this wonderful place. And we came down here and we experienced all this separation, or this sense of separation. And so let's just say, like that one movie where that girl was feeling blue and she was blue and I can't remember. It's sort of like that in a way. Wow, that was like, I knew that movie was speaking to my intuition, but part of me was resisting part of that because, I don't know, it doesn't matter. But you have these cups, so you have these neuroreceptors that are like, please feed me heartbreak energy, feed me rejection, feed me not good enough, feed me trying to prove yourself, feed me lack, please feed me fear. Then in order to compensate for all those feelings of shame, which make those neuroreceptors go, oh yes, I love that feeling, now I'm in a familiar state, because our brain, okay, one second. Warning. Our brain, all right? Our brain is it wants patterns, okay? If we are a soul in a human body, right? If we are a spiritual being having a human experience, you know, and which we are, but you don't have to just, anyway, you're here, so you know that. So if we're souls here, then we don't let our minds dominate. Our minds and our mind chemicals. That's what I learned with Dr. Joe Dispenza, is he was saying like our chemicals also need to completely die. It's like Christ saying, die every day. Now I'm just like, I have more freedom because I'm like, oh wait, I can let those chemicals die. I don't have to feed them. I didn't realize that they were dictating so much of my action. I know from The Power of Now, and that's the book I teach on, Eckhart Tolle's book. He talks about the pain body and how we all develop a pain body, and it goes away asleep, and then it's like, if it hasn't had energy for a while and activated, then it will provoke someone to hurt you or reject you, or will find someone to create those same feelings in you. And so it's wild, it's crazy, because none of us would want that pain in our lives, you know, but we go find someone that will use us or something, you know, for our money or our skills or whatever, you know. And it's like we feel important for the moment. This is the other thing, is you feel all this shame because your neuroreceptors are like, we want shame again, we want separation. And then you go, some people will go, any of us, whatever, will go and try to be like, oh, I'm smarter, I'm more spiritual, I'm, you know, we either complain about being a victim, or we like act like we're better than other people, or we just run after pleasures, you know, we run after all the pleasures, I don't have to name them all, you know, to try to make ourselves feel good in the immediate, because we feel so crap, because we because we ran to those chemicals in our body again, because we thought we had to, like they're running us. What? I'm not going to let the chemicals in my brain run me. And this part of me that wants to feel fear again and close off from people and not be alive and expansive and loving, it's like, I just was like, wow, I just watched too much TV last night. I never watch TV because I have so many other things that I want to feed my mind. Anyway, that's it. I want you guys to feel free and know that you can now be aware. You can be aware that these chemicals are just chemicals in your brain that want energy, they want your time, they want your attention, they want to be fed again, and so that they can relive, they can I'm just getting all this stuff about how Christ taught about these. It's like through fasting, like letting these things, you're fasting from feeding these chemicals. You stop feeding them because you don't want a lesser thing dominating your life. It's kind of like if my soul can direct my life, or this tiny little thing that's like this pebble, my brain and my brain chemicals and my patterns and my past direct my life. You can use your brain like you're using your computer, and then wow, thunder, I think. And then use it like an instrument, like a tool. It's kind of like, sometimes I used to say, if we're playing a piano, the piano's a beautiful instrument, but then if the piano started having arms and legs or something and saying, I'm going to run your life now, and it's like, no, you don't get to run my life, But I just keep hearing it in my heart, like fasting and prayer. Like prayer is to keep coming to the present moment. That is a form of prayer, The Greek Orthodox do the Jesus prayer, because one man came up to Christ and said, Lord Jesus Christ, have mercy on me. Pour your loving ointment of oil on me, your oil of forgiveness, your oil of just have mercy on me in my situation, That's what you're doing when you keep coming back to the present moment. You're surrendering your present moment, and you're just saying, you know what? I notice all these old thoughts. I notice all these old patterns. I notice all these old urges, to go back and be destructive towards myself. But now I recognize them, and I don't have to even fight against them. They're not even me. They're not me. I am the soul. They're having a human experience. And those could be thoughts from the collective of those. That could be thoughts from my father and his father. They could be in the collective. They're just thoughts that are running by that used to run in my old programs, and my programs are weeding them out. It's like if I have a system cleanup in my brain right now, and I'm like, I can give my attention to those thoughts and feed them by my actions, by destructive actions again. And I heard someone the other day do this sermon, and they were saying like, Christ can silence those voices in you. I'm like, what? Wait, what? Here I've been like learning all these skills, how to silence them myself. And like, David still knew how to do a slingshot really, really well, and how to protect the lambs from like lions and all sorts of things that would come in the wilderness. He didn't just go out to Goliath with no skills. Oh, awesome. I'm like, women, mountain bikers, woo! He had skills, and then he use those skills to do what he was called to do. I was just in Mexico. They had them every day. I'm like, okay. They were just saying, we're going to get caught in a tropical storm. See, it's that. It's when you surrender. I was just reading the last chapter of Eckhart Tolle's book, and I was teaching on it. And it's all about surrender. And it was like, when you surrender, you release yourself to the divine. You know, it's the first step in AA. It's like I came to believe that a power greater than myself could restore me to sanity. You know, you're like, so I'm going to be caught in a rainstorm or not. It doesn't matter, you know. You access, he says, you access your being self when you do that. When you're just stuck in your mind, you only give yourself mind solutions, and the mind wants its old chemicals, its old behaviors, its old, why do I keep letting people use me or walk all over me? Or, you know, I find people that I can rescue. I'm not saying me, I'm thinking about other people too, but, you know, that I can rescue. And so I feel important in the moment, but then they depend on me and they don't have courage in their own lives. And then they're taking all my energy out of me because I found them that way, because I wanted to feel important. Like, why would I want that? I don't need that. I don't need to be anyone's savior to make up for those bad feelings. When I just stop feeding those bad feelings and just observing the thoughts and not letting them go any further, not taking them in, then those chemicals don't keep getting formed, and those receptors just, they scream at first. They scream, feed me pain. And then I can just let them go, because it's just like that baby. You want that baby. That's why I was given that image in a way of the little baby with fetal alcohol, because you want her or him to just completely recover and be healthy and have a whole brain again. And the brain can restore itself, you know, and it's just about, you know, getting through that difficult part. It doesn't have to be difficult. Okay, one more study that I heard of that was coming to my mind from my past is these people, these guys, soldiers from Vietnam came back, and I heard, you know, in a study, they were all addicted to heroin from Vietnam because it was all over, the poppies and stuff. And then the ones that were connected to love and a family and had something to live for when they got back, you know, and you can have this in your spiritual walk as well. They got over heroin really easily. They just dropped it, you know. I didn't even think they had side effects. But I'm not saying to do that, okay? I'm not saying if you're in that, because I'm not a medical doctor, and so I'm not giving anyone medical advice. I'm just relating a story. You know, I have to say that because, you know, there are ways. Like I learned from my friend, she had these high doses of vitamin C injected in her, and they helped take side effects from different medications and stuff, from trying to wean off of things, you know. I'll just be vague, but I did hear that. And I heard from another guy, a person, I remember this guy talking to me one time at the beach about getting off stuff. I forgot about that. I'm so proud of him. Anyway, so but it's just like getting off of any of that stuff. That's what I was going to say. The soldiers that came back that weren't connected and didn't know that there's more love, something higher than those highs, you know, but it's more subtle than those highs, you know. The highs, people take stuff and are addicted to stuff because it's in their hands and they feel like they're controlling it, but it's really controlling them. It's making us slaves. It's enslaving us. When I give myself over to these chemicals, it's the same thing. My mind has been enslaving me, and the mind chemicals it wanted to have rather than the soul life I want to live in and be blessed or whatever, not to be cheesy, but like, you know, be in love. I want to always live in love, because why not? Because I can, you know. And so the soldiers that weren't connected in love, you know, it was more difficult for them, or they were on methadone for a long time, or I don't know, it was like really hard for them. I remember going through a kind of withdrawal. It was so weird, but it was from a different, but now I know that the chemicals that were produced in my brain were like the same. It's like oxytocin or something. I just had a horrible breakup, and I was like on the floor in a fetal position for like 3 days. Like, it was so bad. I never, like my skin was crawling. I never felt that. I didn't do any drugs or anything. It doesn't matter. It's not about labeling. It's about overcoming these things, you know? So that you're not someone's slave, you know? It's about crossing the river, leaving Egypt, leaving slavery, and going to the promised land. This is your life. I wish you so much love. All I want to do is encourage you in this. Much love.